Hey Vikings, Achilles here. Today we're going to be talking about how points from kills work in CvC and KvK. So I think the standard thing to do when someone looks at a battle report is to look at the influence lost on both sides and to try to kind of figure out how well the fight went based on that, but that's not entirely accurate. So what we're going to do is take a look at first a screenshot from one of my traps and uh, a actual fight for the place of power that my clan had a couple of months ago. Now, this particular screenshot was a tier 1 trap, so the influence loss was actually my main account and not this alt, but the screenshot itself works fine. The reason that the influence doesn't really cover it quite for the enemy is that if you looked at this, it's counting the influence loss. So the out of the warriors is showing the influence loss for 86.7k tier 1 um, melee units, and then 8.851 for the cavalry, and so on. But the way the game actually counts it is if the entirety of a troop type is lost, it counts this number right here. So in this situation, it's counting the for points. Excuse me. Um, the actual points lost by this player is 108,000 for this particular troop trait, 11,000 for this one, and so on. For this one, because I won, it's only counting 29.1k. So the amount that survived past that is actually not going to count against me on points. So what that means is that the person who loses the fight typically is going to have a much higher point loss than the person that wins the fight, even beyond what the influence says. So if this said I lost the exact same influence as this player, so if I lost 2.488 million influence, they would still actually lose a lot more points. So if we go ahead and take a look at how this actually plays out. So right here, we're looking at, again, this is a fight over the place of power that we had about a month or two ago. There was a player on the other side that had 33 billion influence. I may have gotten these two mixed up. And I think I was at about 16 or 17, and we tried to hold the pop against him. And this is essentially what happened. So up here, we just kind of have the influence loss breakdown. So in total, if we look at all 4 reports, and this was the last one before I managed to pull all the troops out. So at this point, I got everything out of the pop, and we didn't actually have a defense loss, which was really good for us. So anyways, the total influence lost, we lost 363 million. They lost 344 million. So we actually lost almost 20 million more influence than the attacker did, which is a pretty big chunk. So based on how most people look at points, we got that was a pretty rough fight for us. All that said, let's take a look at how this actually plays out in terms of points. So if we come over here, I definitely did get these two mixed up, but for the purposes of the video, we'll treat this one as defense 1 and 2. So here we have the tier 1 cav. The entirety of this troop was defeated, even if it wasn't entirely lost in influence. We have to count the 824,000, not just the 659 that we no longer have. So 824k points. This one was entirely defeated, so 505. The 50.8k tier 5, and then the killer tier 5. These weren't actually defeated. You see there's a 0 lost here, and this isn't quite 80%. So we didn't lose all of these, so we only count the 794,000 plus the 50.8 thousand there. So right here, this is our point loss, and this is their point loss. So even though the influence loss was pretty close, you see that they lost almost 50% more in terms of points. So this is, just to clarify a little bit, this is the actual points lost by the side. So the attacker definitely got a worst, the worst end of I can't speak today. Had a much worse time than we did. And so yeah, they lost the 1.256 million for the tier 5. The whole thing counts, not just what's lost. So then we look at the second one, same deal. They lost over 50% more this time. Defense 3, this is the only one they came ahead on, even though they killed way more troops. So we lost 1.8 million tier 1, and then 512k tier 5, and this really hurt. I should not have sent tier 6. I was still a little under, my stats were still a little bit low to be using tier 6, but live and learn. So they came out slightly ahead in this one. And then the last one, they also came out a little bit ahead, but not by a lot, even though again they killed tier 6. So the overall point breakdown is right here. So you can see that we actually lost 3 billion less points than they did, or almost 3 billion. And even though our influence loss, you can look at the influence loss from the other page right here. So even though we lost 20 million more influence, we actually came out ahead on points by a decent margin. So keep that in mind when you're attacking, especially if you're, I see a lot of people hit with tier 1 to try to kind of clear out other teams tier 1, or they'll hit with tier 3, and even if you're getting a similar point ratio or influence ratio, you're probably losing a lot more points than they are, and if they shield up, you're kind of in bad shape. Another thing that this is potentially helpful in figuring out is if you're setting up traps. This could be something that affects trap accounts pretty substantially, in that having fewer separate troops may be more beneficial, because so instead of having tier 1 through 4 on a large trap and having a big chunk of each of those, it might be better to skip some tiers or to skip some troop types, so that you're more likely to stop them from actually clearing out more of the I don't even know how to refer to them, but like the more categories of troops, I guess. Hopefully that all made sense. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. If you have any other information similar to this, be happy to hear about that as well. I did do a good bit of testing with this. I'm always open to new information. And if you found this video helpful or interesting, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time.